It's the Thinker Business Accelerator weekly workshop where we discuss topics that are in help businesses move forward. I'm stumbling all over my words today. I was up till 3:30 last night, and then back up again at not by design, by choice, or by not by choice, rather, I guess by design. I was back up at 7 because my body did not want to sleep. So that's my morning. My brain's a little bit out of it. I appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah, sounds like an attempt at a nap would be good at some point today.
Perhaps. Yeah. It's also my daughter's 18th birthday. So I'm feeling old and introspective.
And that's the end of that. And you now officially have all adult children in the eyes of the law.
I know, right? Yeah, we talked briefly the other day about the magical few days between 17 and 18.
Yeah. From now on, you get to say, I have no responsibilities whatsoever. I'm not responsible at all. I'm just, I'm doing my own thing.
If only that were true, Paul.
Yeah.
No, children are like mold. As soon as you see them, they've been there for a while, and
they smell bad.
Well, and if you think they've disappeared, no, they are coming back.
And even if they're gone, their bills keep coming to you.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship. They just absorb portions of your energy. It doesn't kill you, but you would have had more energy if they weren't around.
That is true.
It can make you sick, though. Like really sick.
Yes, they do that.
Sometimes. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. Today, we've got, I think, some different topic ideas that we've batted around based on things that have been happening in the universe. One of which is this idea of energy, how we spend our energy, the different energies we bring to situations. I was thinking of a meeting the other day with a lady who is a pretty big extrovert. And I was thinking of the contrast that I have with my introvertedness. I'll disappear for hours, and I'm certain that she wouldn't. And then how we need each other's differing energies, and how that requires a respect for other people's energies. And then, like today, probably why it's on my mind is, I was working last night. Some people, I'm a night owl. If you get me in a groove, boy, I will be up all night, and I'll have to force myself to go to bed, because I know that I will pay a significant price at my age for pulling an all-nighter. all bones in my body will revolt. So that's my thought. And then Paul, I think you had a thought as well. What was that?
This actually is something. This is not the first time I've observed it. It's just the first time I've observed it as we've worked to build the Emissary publishing label. And that is that frequently, when you exert energy towards a particular objective, especially I've noticed this with marketing, lead generation, and trying to drum up new business. Even though the ideal outcome is you put together a strategy, you follow it, and you get the results that you outlined at the beginning, sometimes what happens is you get results, but they don't come from the efforts you've been working on. They come from a completely separate direction where you weren't looking for them. But nevertheless, they come, and which A, goes back to, you have to get started. But B, it also, it's an interesting sort of, what word would you use to describe that, where there's a divergence between what you set out to do and what actually happens, but you end up getting the kind of results you were after anyway.
Happy accident.
What's that?
Happy accident.
Happy accident. Yeah, I suppose you could say that. I feel like it's not an accident, but it's because there's intentionality involved.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, it's like I wasn't bothering these people over here, and they came looking for what we're offering. and the people I am bothering aren't paying me any attention. So, yeah, strange. Strange but true.
Yeah. What topic ideas are floating in your mind, Naomi?
Oh, motivation and just going. I've been mulling around with the idea lately of just going anyway, just doing it anyway. I feel like when we have these ventures that we want to accomplish, there can be so many things in our path, whether it's specific challenges. Can you hear me okay? Is this
Yes
coming through? I can't hear myself, so it's kind of weird. But there can be like different obstacles in our way, whether it's financial, situational, people, like different things in our way. And there could be so many reasons to not do something. And I feel like lately I've been, what about just doing it? What about just people are not going to approve of what we do, right? People are not going to approve of the entrepreneurial journey. They're going to say it's irresponsible in one way, shape, or form, right? Because if they don't understand it, I think the quickest thing that people do is vilify or condemn it. There's always some kind of negative spin they can put on it if they don't understand it. And that tends to be human nature, right? Like if we don't understand something, the easiest thing to do is vilify it. And so I think a lot of times the fear that we face in taking this journey is having to do with, am I being responsible? According to who? According to who? I think that's the biggest thing is it's responsible to do what we feel is best, and only we can know that. Other people might not agree. Statistics might not agree. Your neighbor and their dog might not agree, but it can still be the best option for you. Anyway, 1 second. I gotta go grab my door. I have the only running water in the house right now. We're getting our pipes repiped. 1 second.
Pipes repiped. That is... that doesn't happen often.
I heard two of my different favorite people to do impressions of in the back of my head as Naomi was talking there. So, can I do an impression for this episode?
Oh, you should. I think that would be great.
So when you're talking about doing it anyway and people aren't going to like it and, people are going to disagree and all that, I immediately hear Dana Carvey doing Donald Trump saying, let me tell you, we're going to say some things very soon. We're going to say it and we're going to do it and we want to do it and we're going to say things like you wouldn't believe. A lot of people don't like that. They don't want to hear it, but you know what? We're going to do it anyway. Right. And the other thing I thought of was Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite, my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger, the commencement address that he gave, where he talked about his secrets to success. And he said, the second rule is break the rules. I mean, how many times have you heard in life that you can't do this, that you can't do that it's never been done before? As a matter of fact, I love it when somebody says that something has never been done before, because then when I do it, that means I'm the first person that has done it. So pay no attention to the people that say it can't be done. I always listened to myself and said, yes, you can.
Did you do impressions on your radio show?
Occasionally, yeah.
It's always remarkable, and I think it goes along with the this idea of energy, because I think a handful of things we're talking about all are focused on this idea of this topic of energy. So, number one, ripping off of what you just did, right? You have a particular skill set that you can recall all that stuff, right? You can recall lines and how it was said, where it was said, and all that stuff. And that's not my skill set. I will remember a handful of things, but my brain is much more focused on other stuff, arcs of things and interconnectedness and webs and all sorts of stuff. The detail of a quote.
You read and recall like stuff that puts me to sleep. Like
Yeah.
when you're researching like different software programs and applications for us to do the marketing and all that, and all those spec sheets that they have that tell you the features of each service and all that, you go through that like in 30 seconds, and I'm still on line 3 trying to be interested. Like I couldn't be less interested in it if I tried.
See, in the why my brain does that, or why I do that, is my brain immediately knows a handful of things I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I will just like run through it. Right. So,
Yeah.
On that call yesterday, talking with the lady we talked with, I scanned her website in 10 seconds and found the handful of things that I needed to know to, apply to the conversation. I did not read it. I will go back and figure out what I want to read after I've scanned it and figured out those little bullet points. But my brain is just interconnected on all those things.
Right.
And so that gets back to energy.
Yeah.
And which ties in, I think, with what you're talking about, Naomi, as well, that each of us has a different expression in the universe. So that we have innate personality types, not types, but tendencies, let's say, innate personality tendencies, right? And it's not that they're unchangeable. It's just that they're not necessarily easy to change. And because we're not even usually aware of them. And if you're not aware of it, you're not going to change it. That goes back to manufacturing. What you measure, you can manage. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Mm-hmm.
So for ourselves, some people are extroverts, some people are introverts. Some people, I will get in a groove and stay up all night and just work. And I'll have to put myself to bed like an adult, like a parent. Go to bed, Jason.
Parent yourself.
My energy is expended, on this web of stuff rather than in the detail. But it also, coupling that with what you talked about, Paul, where, we made some big plans for this year and intentionally set about taking on some activities, creating some seminars and workshops. And then that necessitated some PDFs and some resource brochures and creation of other stuff. And by virtue of moving definitively in that direction, a whole host of other opportunities came on board, and because our attention went in that, right? So I think where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah,
that's I think, I don't know who said that, bunches of people, and because we set about making those seminars and workshops, even though we've changed, that has shifted a little bit. It doesn't look like what we thought it might look like. The direction brought all that energy, and by virtue of all that energy coming, all these other things were created and new opportunities were presented.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's actually a parallel principle there. I just remembered from all these years of working out in the gym, and that is that the body will follow wherever the head focuses. And so part of proper posture when you're doing certain movements depends on whether you keep your head or you allow it to go 45 degrees. Some people go way down like this, which is not good either, right? And in my case, if my neck is not 100% aligned with my spine, which governs where the focus of my eyes is going to be, I execute the movement poorly because the body says, well, the head is looking up, so we got to keep going up, but actually we're supposed to be going down. And it mucks it up. And so what I've found I have to do is I have to get my head at precisely that angle where it's aligned with my spine. And then wherever is straight ahead in my field of vision is my focal point, so that I can concentrate on, pick a spot on the wall or an object that I can stay focused on while I execute that movement. And it's the same general principle. It's like, because the eyes are a huge component of attention in our minds, then whatever we're paying attention to and drilling in on, our energy is going to go into that. And this is the interesting thing that I think is coming out of it, Jason, is that our energy goes into it, but we don't necessarily direct or control where that energy goes or what it finds when it gets there. And maybe that's part of what the invisible thing that's going on, that we're seeing like all of these other opportunities spring up as a result of doing all this, because we're not really in control of the outcome. We're just in control of the input.
Wow. I like that. I think you uncovered some stuff under that rock.
Well, I didn't mean to go on a philosophical tangent here on the.
Yes, of course.
We never do that.
We're going to put that on your gravestone. He didn't mean to go on a philosophical rant.
He didn't mean to, but he did.
But he did.
Nonetheless. I've been reading. I really love that. I've been listening to Audible. Audible's great. I've been reading a book, and in this book it was talked about people being successful and where to put your energy, actually, this very topic. And someone said, write down, I forget who it was, that's why I can't quote who exactly it was, but they said, write down your 25 of your goals, your career goals or life goals, 25 of them. Now go through and circle the 5 that are most important. You have to make sure you figure out the 5 that are most important, just 5. After you circle those ones, you have to put the others on a do not touch at all costs. Do not put energy into at all costs, because they're just side quests. They're just distractions, because your biggest goals, you're gonna only get the fruits of the things you put energy into. And so when it comes to your goals and the things that are most important, if you put energy into that, you're gonna get success in that one way or another. And so you have to, in order to know where to put your energy, you have to know where not to put your energy. You have to know where to say, do not put energy into this. That is a non-negotiable. That is a waste of time. That will drain me, and I will not be able to focus that on what will actually be edifying for me and the people around me.
Yeah. Yeah. A good example of this is a long time ago, I was pretty indiscriminate about where I went to network. I just went wherever there was an open invitation, wherever there was somebody introduced me. And I poured a lot of time and specifically energy, not to mention money, into doing that. And the results were not it wasn't zilch, but the results were kind of I feel like I should be getting more out of this than for what I'm putting into it. And I realized later, several years later, now into the present day, I can't do that anymore. If I'm going to go leave my house, go give, drive time and an hour or two towards doing something, it has to align with who I want to become, what I want to do, who I want to do it with. Because otherwise it's just, it introduces too many variables that I don't have control over or any say in. So do I network? Yes, I do, but I network much more narrowly now. And, it's not that I'm close to things. If people invite me to something, I'll go check it out and I'll see what kind of people, I'll give it an opportunity, but I won't last long if I don't quickly sense the right kind of energy in the room. And I've done it long enough to know now which rooms I belong in and which ones I don't.
There's a quote by Warren Buffett. The quote is, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything.
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss said it slightly differently, which is what you don't do determines what you can do. And I think that goes with energy. this idea that, energy is a finite resource for all of us in maybe slightly different ways, right? So, an introvert like me, and I'm a skilled extroverter. I don't even know what to say. It's a ambivert, I guess is the word, right? My tendency is to be introverted, but I can do the extroverted thing, and I can do it really well. But I can do it for a short period of time because the effort, I put one token in and I don't get, I get fewer, that token's gone. Whereas an extrovert, right? They'll put a token into a social situation and they'll get a token back.
They'll get 5
right?
tokens back. They'll wire them for days.
Right. And that's amazing. I think it's a fantastic skill. But I know that when my tokens are gone, they're gone. And so my brain just sort of intuitively, like you're talking about, Paul, because I've been doing this, I've been living life for a period of time. I intuitively know that my energy might be drained faster in certain situations. And so if I know what I need to take care of, let's say, John Maxwell calls it the main event. What's the main event for today? If you know the main event, then you need to manage your energy and resources for that main event, and nothing else matters that day except that main event. To your point, Naomi, because if you're going to go accomplish something, in fact, I had a call yesterday. If you're going to go accomplish something that requires a certain amount of activation energy, I think Tony Robbins talks about that. The idea is activation energy. It's like a speed bump, right? To even get started and get moving on something, it requires a certain amount of effort, a certain amount of energy. And if you don't give it that amount of energy, you will not even get started. It's like boiling the ocean. It's not going to happen. Your energy is dissipated off and you'll never get it back. You don't even know where it went. Whereas if you concentrate that energy into one point, like a Fresnel lens, you take the sun, you put it through a little lens, and all of a sudden you can burn wood, you can burn rock for that matter, depending on the size of the lens. That concentrated energy makes a massive difference. And entrepreneurs, all of us need to learn how to concentrate our energy and where to concentrate our energy. That takes experience, and it takes perhaps some introspection about why we say yes to too many things and why we should start saying no, so that we can concentrate that energy. Because in a given day, there's just so much energy. And once it's gone, it's not coming back until you go through that reload time. And I think sometimes we put ourselves in situations where we run ourselves down to the wire for too long. And now that reload time just takes so long, and we can't do the things that we want to do, and we do a bad job at the things that we should be doing.
It's kind of like I picture it like when there's broken trust. When you have to start from the ground up, you're starting at ground level. But when there's broken trust, or when you've depleted yourself too much, you're not starting from ground level. You're starting from 6 feet under. You're so depleted, you're dead. Like, you've got to fill that all in. You've got to fill in the holes. You've got to get ground level back and leveled and pounded in and steady, and then you can build from there. And so if you deplete yourself so much, if you're using your energy so much, you will literally bury yourself in, and then you have to dig yourself out and then start from the ground up. You can't even start from the ground up. So I think that's extremely important, where that energy that we spend, if we spend it, it's very poignant, I think, to know that, like, we have to understand when we're being depleted, what's depleting us, and is it worth it? Like, for instance, parenting is very depleting, and there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? Like, when you're a parent, like, and you guys know this, both of you guys are parents, there's nothing you can do about it. You're
Rose up. You're muted, Jason.
That's true. I'm muted. That's an interesting look, Naomi. She's frozen.
Yeah, she's frozen in thought.
All right. Well, pick it up, Paul.
Well,
See if she comes back.
Yeah, I'm not, without presuming how she finished her thought, that did make me think of something, which is that, yes, parenting can be depleting, particularly parenting a child, who is developmentally delayed, special needs, those kind of things. My heart goes out to people who are dealing with those things.
What was the last thing you heard?
It was being a parent, you don't have a choice, or you're being depleted. So I was just attempting to fill in some fluff.
Oh my gosh. I went on a whole tangent. All the things they say about how you need to have boundaries with how people talk to you and how people show up with you, all of that goes out the window. There's this whole like they have boundaries about how you allow people to treat you. All that goes out the window with parenting. You need to teach them how to respect. You need to teach them respect and stuff. But when it comes to little kids, they're going to throw tantrums. They don't know how to self-regulate. So that's going to come out at you. That's going to come out at you. You need to teach them how to regulate. So when it comes to parenting, that's something that will deplete you and you don't have an option. And so that's why it's very important to pick and choose what other things you put on your plate. But where I'm going with that is how, like, you have to decide what things get your energy. My children will get far more of my energy and far more of my faking energy, because that's another thing I'm going to get into is like the fake energy. Because sometimes I'm not regulated and my children aren't regulated, but I have to show up for them because they need me to help them regulate. I can regulate myself, but they can't regulate themselves. So I need to show up for them and make sure I show up for them to regulate. And so I fake my energy level. I fake my regulation so that I can show up for them to regulate, and then I regulate. And I think this is something too that is very necessary in building a business, in building any kind of success in life, is sometimes the fake it till you make it is essential. Sometimes we don't have the energy, and sometimes like we have to fill in that gap and pretend we have energy because we see the other side. It only works if you see the other side. It doesn't work if you don't, because that will dig you deeper and that will deplete you completely. The fake it till you make it is only when you know how far you will have to fake it. Otherwise, it will just have the opposite effect. And so you need to know where to put your energy, and you need to know where to fake the energy until you can make that leap, until you can bridge that gap, essentially. And so you need to know where your energy is going. Figure out when you need to fake the energy. And some things that you need to prioritize are going to deplete you, but that's why it's super important to know what you won't put energy into, so you can show up in the way that you need to for the things that are your priorities.
Yeah. I want to take a little bit of a turn here and couple this with something I was watching yesterday, which, Emissary Publishing is a business that Paul and I work on. And so we work with people who write books. And I remember you and I have talked about this, Paul, and I think you and I, Naomi, have talked about this as well, that the book writing process for me would end right around 4,000 words. And then I'd be like, it's not a big deal. It's not worth writing a book about. And essentially it was like, well, I can't give more energy to this. Now, the video I was talking about was watching yesterday was on 13 steps to write a great book. And one of the things was the marathon in the middle. Don't give up in the marathon in the middle. And he made a point that many people give up at the 4,000 word count because they don't have a big idea. The idea is not big enough. All the energy got expended in that 4,000 words, and it's done. There's nothing more to say about that. And it should have been a blog post or a short story. And so sometimes I think, in my experience, people don't direct their energies in a very concentrated way and don't say no to things that don't matter because they don't have big ideas. There's no big dreams. They get caught up in all the little nonsense. They fritter away their energies and they feel it difficult to engage in a task, a project, a book. What are your thoughts when you hear something like that?
Yeah, people don't. I think what is difficult for some people is to articulate the ideas that they feel intuitively, but they don't necessarily know how to explain or unpack. And this goes back to energy being a spiritual substance that transfers among us and that we all have a certain amount of and all of that. And then it catches us by surprise many times. And I'll give you an example of this. This is 12 years ago. I was sitting on the sofa in our home and I decided, I saw that the movie Schindler's List was on. And I watched it. It's a very sad movie and all that, obviously. But there was this scene at the end where Oscar Schindler, played by Liam Neeson, just basically collapses into a sobbing because of the Jewish people come and give him a gift for rescuing them. And he starts lamenting how he could have saved more people and he could have done more and all of that. And I had seen this movie before, so it was not new. I was expecting it, and I wasn't, but I suddenly began to weep profusely at this scene, and I couldn't figure out why. It was an unacknowledged in many ways, an unaddressed center of energy within my being as I look back on it now and I think about it. Expressing itself in overflow because I had been busy suppressing it for a long time. Now, the particulars of why that triggered it, I still don't fully understand. I think it is something to do with the fact that I view being in business and being a blessing to people and wanting to be a refuge for people are huge to me. I think that's probably where I would start if I was going to go on a journey to try and really put language to that. But I think it's it's just an example that people could hear or watch and think, oh, okay, I've had something happen like that before. Because what happens is, right, that part of you is in there, whether you like it or not. And when someone comes along who can embody it externally and you see it, you feel on a very visceral level a deep sense of connection with that. But people don't always have the language to explain why they have the connection, what the connection even is. So when they come to write a book, they float up to the surface and they start writing about fluff, which suddenly makes it generic and uninteresting. And then your own internal critic and editor kick in and you start thinking, what's the point of writing all this? I'm not the first person to write this. There's nothing unique about this. This has been done before. It's been discovered before. There's nothing new under the sun. And you say, well, nah, I've done it myself, right? Even as good as professional of an author and a writer and a skilled language expert that I am, I've done it because I didn't have any, like you said, I couldn't attach onto a big idea and say, oh, okay, now I can see how my story links up with that. So I can tell a story even though I'm not the first person to live through it. And the principle I'm going to put forward as essential to the audience is not new either. But I have my own story to make it interesting, make it afresh in a way.
I see your wheels turning. Naomi.
Yeah. I really feel like two things. I'm kind of I'm going to jump off with the philosophical side here because I really like the two aspects of, well, I could have done more. I feel like there's always that nagging of, you hear it all the time. People getting to the end of their life and they don't regret what they did. It's what they didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's always that nagging feeling. If your hope in your journey, your big priority is to help people and to be a safe haven, there's going to be that nagging, oh, well, I didn't do enough. There's also the, I might need to take this phone call. Sorry, I just got this phone call back to back. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry.
What was your reaction to what I said, Jason? Did it make any sense?
Yeah. It reminds me of a Coffee with Humans call I had yesterday with my friend Adam Parr from the UK. We ended up talking about something very similar to all this, which is we got down to the idea of, start with why, the Simon Sinek stuff, what your deep desires are, what your deep needs are, how you really want to show up, and how we tend to not operate in that authenticity. Some of us don't know it's there, and it takes years to find it anyhow. And then there's a discovery of that. Once I find it, it's important to think of it that way. So I like what you talk about when you're watching a movie, and it happened to me last Saturday. I was, thinking about stuff and, just began to really feel the moment. And I've learned that when I really feel something, when it really comes out of me, it's like something's there. I don't know. And I don't judge myself on it. I don't know what it is, but there's an energy, there's an emotional energy there. And it's my brain's task to uncover what that emotional energy is there. Where did it come from? What's it linked to? What could come from that? How could I expend that energy? What does it want to create? And so I wrote poetry and actually wrote some music and did some artwork, which has nothing at all to do with programming, which, I'm a very skilled programmer, a reasonably skilled programmer. And, but there's nothing that nothing, if I was going to write a book, I'm not going to write a book about programming. It doesn't move me, even though I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Naomi's back.
Yes, I'm so sorry. They called back to back. It was anyway. There's gonna be the wondering what we didn't do, what we didn't accomplish. The more we could have done, the more people we could have helped, right? If you were to write a programming book because it doesn't speak to your soul, you wouldn't be able to. You might help people learn how to program, but you might not inspire many people to do self-reflection, which, knowing you, I think that's more important to you, is help people self-reflect and get in tune with themselves and be able to accomplish things in life that are important to them. So it's kind of like we want to make sure we've done enough, right? And so it's a matter of like putting our energy into making sure that we did everything we could, sitting idly by, getting distracted by those things we put energy into. And the other thing that you had touched on, Paul, is how the point in the movie where you sobbed, you wept, and you hadn't, you said it had been building up for a while, and it took that moment in order for you to kind of release all of that. And I think a lot of times, part of the success journey, part of our journeys in general, there's a sense of dissociation. In order to achieve things, in order to work hard, sometimes we have to put emotions on hold. And that in order, like, because emotions can really get in the way. They're essential, but they can really get in the way. And so sometimes there's like this sense of having to hold back emotion and plow through. And then you get to that point where there's that safety and your body latches onto that. It's that empathy where we empathize with the person on the screen. We might not be going through exactly that, but our emotions, we embrace that emotion because our body knows that there's an emotion there that wasn't addressed yet. And it latches onto that and it feels it completely and it just breaks. It like the dam just breaks and it's that safety to feel it. And so I feel like the philosophical side is we need to make sure we're doing everything in our power to do everything we can do. And also in those moments like where we can like kind of not piggyback, but recognize where, because I mean, we can create that safety for other people too, right? To break, to fall apart, to weep, to get in touch with their emotions. We can be that for other people. But I think there's that needing to. I guess I just want to. I want to say how important it is for both of those to try as hard as we can to make sure we don't have any unfinished business to do. Instead of saying, oh no, I could have helped more, it could be, I did everything I could. Well, maybe the conversation needs to be different though too, because if you do everything you can, then doesn't that mean you might deplete yourself too much? You put your energy where you need to put it at the time you needed to put it there. And so prioritizing is the only way we can really direct our energy. And then prioritizing when we can let those emotions out. Sorry, I kind of got really distracted there and kind of went off on a tangent. I'm out of it today. I apologize. But I don't know if any of that's making any coherent sense.
Well, as we're winding down to our final moments here, our last 10 minutes or so, the resounding phrase that I'm hearing is energy leaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Where are we spending energy on things that don't matter?
Yeah.
And if that's the big question, where am I spending on energy on things that don't matter? Then that begs the question, what matters? And then how do I get about reducing my energy leaks, minimizing my energy leaks, so that I can go about the things that matter? And to your point earlier, Nami, that the things that matter are different for each of us. Mm-hmm. And they change through time as well. You have young children. My children are grown. I spend my energy with them in totally different ways. Mm-hmm. And they need different resources than they did 20 years ago.
Yeah. And mine are in the middle. I have teenagers where there's an exertion of energy I wasn't anticipating. An exertion of physical energy because of their athleticism and their interest in certain sports where I have a detailed knowledge that I can actually be a coach. And so I'm being run ragged by a bunch of teenagers on playing ice hockey all the time, and it goes in various directions you don't see coming. But those are important directions, of course, right? Cementing that lifelong bond so that they feel connected to me and that they feel like I give a rip about what goes on in their lives, tremendously important. So I drag my butt to the rink and, I never thought I would say this being, a gym rat like I am, but a high endurance sport like hockey is really difficult when you weigh 250 pounds and most of it is muscle. I get tired so easily with these kids, and they just 16-year-old boys. They got nothing but vim and vigor, and they all weigh 100 pounds, maybe $150. They're all skinny bone Jones, and I'm indeed hard pressed to keep up with them. The nice thing is my brain works a lot faster than theirs does,
right?
With a lot more experience, so it does equal out. But
two things I'm hearing in that, and I don't mean to cut you off. you say your brain works a lot faster, and I don't know that that's true. I'd love to dig into that at a different time, but I think your brain is better at optimization. It knows what not to pay attention to. And so
Yes.
you're paying attention to things that their brain is just learning to not pay attention to.
Yes.
And
that's what I meant. It's a bad way of phrasing it, but you're right. It's like, I know when one of the kids takes a shot down the right wing boards and I'm on the left wing boards, I don't have to go all the way around the net to get that puck. I know it's going to come around to me, so I'll just stand there and wait for it.
yeah, and I think, and I don't think you phrased it incorrectly. I think each of us, in my experience, each of us along our journey of growth, both maturing as we get older and then learning new things. A new entrepreneur is totally different than a 20-year veteran and a 40-year veteran, right?
Yeah.
And you can hear it in how they speak. And so sometimes there's that youthful hubris. I certainly had it, probably still have it, of like, I'm going to burn I think I told my dad at one point in time, like, I'm going to burn the soles off. He's like, you do a lot of stuff. I was like, I'm going to burn the soles off my shoes. I got one life. And I did. I would not do that now. And it wasn't unsuccessful.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. My brain does. I like getting involved in a lot of things. And some people say, well, you do this, you do that, you do all this. Yeah. That's given me certain abilities and skills and resources that I would never have had otherwise if I had, because I know for me, there's no chance I could just like, I was a programmer and I still do programming, but there's no chance you'll find me just hunkered down at a computer all day doing nothing else. Computers. I used to take apart computers, put them back together, build them, tinker around. Now I just want them to work. Don't bug me with all the details. Like, I know all the details and it drives me crazy because my brain goes like, it just knows like that is a totally pointless exercise, Jason.
Waste of energy.
There's no profit to be had from that. So I just want my computers to work. Just make it work. And that is a 30-year path.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it takes a bit of humility and humility in community like this to go, okay, well, I'm at any given point, I'm learning to tune out things that don't matter and tune into the things that do. And so what do I get to hear and absorb? And then what do I do with that? And I really like the energy leak thing. For me, that's a big takeaway for me. What energy leaks do I have that are reducing my effectiveness in this one life that I have to do the things that matter?
That's another key gym principle, by the way. When you're lining up to do a certain movement, and I'm terrible with this because I'm long and lanky, and I have super long lever arms, right? And so if I'm going to do a compound movement that involves more of the core muscles from my knees up to my shoulders, all of that, especially the abdominal core, the chest, the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, all of those big mover muscles. I have to be very attentive in my brain to all of the little ways that energy leaks out. And it can be my toes are pointed the wrong way. It can be my eyes are focused on the wrong thing. It can be my abs are loose and not flexed. It can be, my elbows are not bent just a little bit. My arms are completely locked out. Knees are completely locked out. I mean, it'll just find anywhere to sabotage doing that move correctly, unless you use the brain to say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm not going to do. And then all of a sudden, you get used to doing it correctly. And after a while, you develop the muscle memory, and it becomes automatic, and you don't have to worry about the leaks as much as you used to. But it's a journey to get there, no question.
Yeah. Naomi, bring us home.
Energy leaking can happen. And it does happen. And I think a huge important thing, and I just barely had this aha moment because there's two kinds of energy, and there's multiple kinds of energy, but there's two main ones, physical and mental. And I think it's easy to see where we're depleted physically, but mentally, being able to mentally figure out what we're putting our mental energy into. Because, if we have the more physical energy we have, the more that can help navigate our mental energy. But if our mental energy is depleted, there's nothing to give us physical energy. I think a lot, mental energy fuels physical energy. If you don't have the mental energy, someone who's depressed is not going to get up and exercise. Is exercise going to help their depression? Hell yeah. But are they going to get up and exercise? No, they don't have the mental energy. Depression is a lack of that mental energy. And so they can't get the physical energy. And so I think it's really important to make sure that the mental energy is make sure that cup is full and that's not leaking. Make sure that's watertight. Whether that's through because there's psychological well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, all these things that you need to marry together in order to create that mental energy, so you can have that physical energy to carry out all the things that your mind wants to do and wants to accomplish. And so as long as your mental energy is watertight and you can fix those leaks, then you'll have the physical energy to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And you'll be able to, and if it's watertight, you'll be able to know what not, like you said, you don't need to go all the way around anymore. You know that now. You know how to not put that energy into that. Your mental energy and that is watertight. So you're not leaking out anything there. You already know. Your subconscious already knows where that leak could happen, and it's completely patched. You don't even have to worry about it anymore. So you're not expending extra physical energy that you don't need to. You can save that and put it to where it needs to go. And so I guess that's where my aha moment is I think when we do the work to make sure that our mental energy is watertight, we can use that physical energy more wisely, and it can last longer, stretch it out.
Excellent wrap up for us. So the energy leaks, I took action over the weekend on some of those energy leaks that I was reminded of, and I removed the temptation. I had some games on my phone that had been sitting around for a long, long time. And I'd remembered that once in a while I would go back to, playing them. Even if it was just sit down on the toilet, I'm like, I gotta play a game. And then I play the game, and then the game starts playing me, it seems. So I removed them.
I did too, 2 days ago.
Off my phone, right?
Yeah.
To remove the temptation for the energy leak. Paul, do you have an additional thing to say in our last 2 minutes?
Same sort of thing. To do a fast day once in a while. Just don't eat. I'm amazed how much energy I pour into going to 10 steps to my kitchen and preparing a meal and sitting down to eat it. Like when I do fast days, I get so much work done. And obviously you got to eat. I'm not saying do it all the time, but once a week or once every 2 weeks, just do a fast day and see how much more time you have. Merely because you chose to consume the energy that's already there inside your body, right? When you don't eat externally, the body will begin to consume energy from internal fat stores and all that. So same thing.
Well, it's we have directed our energies toward perhaps making our lives more effective, making more effective use of the time that we have, the only resource we will never get back.
Mm.
And I think a huge part of that, as we've all talked about, is that each one of us struggles with energy leaks. And we can become better at managing those energy leaks. And we have to. Life is a lot about discipline. And the people who are, if years of wisdom have anything to teach us, the people who are most affected begin to manage those energy leaks by saying no. more often. Let's say no to the little things so that we can take on the big things. Well, you've been listening to the Thinker Business Accelerator Workshop, which happens every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central. You're welcome to join us at thinkergrowth.com, where we discuss topics of import. I think I can say that, right, Paul? You're the word guy. Topics of import to entrepreneurs, founders, business leaders. And we will catch you next time. Thanks, Paul and Naomi. Pleasure seeing you today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye-bye.